Hello? Kyle? It's a disaster. It's just terrible. What should I do? Oh no. Please get back here now. Well, okay then. Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Pokemon SoulSilver. In the last one we started off the game and met up with Mr. Pokemon, getting ourselves our Pokedex in the process from Professor Oak. And now I guess we're gonna go see what happened at the lab. One thing I should note, by the way, that I forgot to talk about last time. Video quality for the first few parts isn't going to be the best, but I do upgrade it down the road because I had OBS scaling the footage incorrectly for the first recording session. And also, if I sound a little different than I usually do, this is the first LP I'm using my new microphone on, because I've moved since Code Veronica. So now, instead of using the old Rock Band mic I got with Beatles Rock Band eons ago, I'm using an Elgato Wave 3, so I gotta work around some different audio stuff now. Oh, you again? You got a Pokemon at the lab. What a waste. That's a Pokemon that's too good for a wimp like you. Don't you get what I'm saying? Well, I too have a good Pokemon. I'll show you what I mean. I love that fight intro. Time for our first real trainer battle against this mysterious passerby boy and his Totodile. Scratch and Leer for its moves. It has Torrent for its ability, which is basically a water version of the Blaze ability that Blaze has here. And I didn't even really talk about what that did last part. Blaze makes it so that if Blaze is at 1/3 or less of his maximum HP, his fire-type moves will be boosted in power by, I believe, 50%? And Torrent is just that, but for water. The big strategy for this first fight, if you're at a high enough level, won't really matter, but if you're lower on levels, it's just gonna be hope that Totodile spends turns using Leer rather than Scratch. If a critical hit happens, you're probably gonna lose, but I believe you can lose this first fight, and the game just continues on with no real differences. You gain more experience points from trainer battles, by the way. I think you gain roughly 50% more per Pokemon. Somewhere abouts there, maybe twice. I think it's 50% though. Are you happy you won? Yeah, I'd say so. That was a pretty good victory. Well earned, well earned. Do you want to know who I am? I'm gonna be the world's greatest Pokemon trainer. Excuse me? Jeez. Rude. Give it back. That's my trainer card. Ah, no, you saw my name. Yeah, we got our own trainer card. I should probably just show this off now. It is just your progress report. Shows you what date you started, what your play time is, your name, how much money you got. It's honestly most useful for checking your money if you don't want to just go to a store. There is the back, which shows some stuff like when you first beat the main campaign and your multiplayer record, and you can also sign it. The trainer card does show one other thing technically. But I'm not going to get into that until way later, because it's only going to become relevant way later. Because we got a long time ahead of us. This is a long recording. The game's entirely recorded. It's about 57 hours of gameplay recorded, with a bit of fast forward held down here and there when grinding, and some off-screen grinding period. We're here for a hot minute. In fact, I'd say this probably has the potential to become my longest LP to date. The only thing that could potentially get in the way of that is how many trainer battles I'm editing out down the road, but we'll get more into that in a few moments. Also, since I only kind of went over them the most basic of ways last part, Totodile was a water type, so they're weak to electric and grass type attacks, even though you can't really get those by this point for reasons. Their line, if you picked them at the start of the game, is very focused on HP, physical attack, and physical defense, so they're there for taking some hits that aren't special and dealing out some hits that aren't special. They're probably my second favorite starter in this generation next to the Cyndaquil line, just because I like the Cyndaquil line's high special attack and especially high speed. The poor Chikorita line, I'll talk more about them in a few moments though. For now though, let's go see whatever happened here at Professor Elm's lab. Who are you? We're investigating the case of the missing Pokemon here. Well, number one, Whoever did it will come back to the site. Oh my. So you must be the one who did it. Hold on a second, he has nothing to do with it. I saw it, there was a red-haired boy looking into the building. What? You battled a boy like that. He must be the one who did it. Did you happen to get his name? So here's where you get to name your rival. You can name them whatever you want, name them after a friend you have a rivalry with, name them after that guy you hated back in elementary school. For rivals, I'm sticking with the canon names, and this one's canon name is Silver. And no, if you're playing the original Silver, his name is not Gold. At least I don't think it is. I see. So Silver was his name. Yep. Thanks for having my investigation. The next assignment is the search of this red-haired individual. Kyle, I'm glad they understand you're innocent. See you later. Thank you for coming in just to do that scene. Kyle, this is terrible. Oh, yeah, what was Mr. Pokemon's big discovery? Egg. Huh? This is an egg, isn't it? This egg may be something I've never seen. Still, it is just an egg. Mr. Pokemon's always fascinated by eggs. Well, since he gave it to us, we might as well find out what secret it holds. I'll keep it for a while to find out about the egg. What? Professor Oak gave you a Pokedex? Kyle, is that true? That's incredible! He's superb at seeing the potential of people as trainers. Wow, Kyle, I knew you were a little different. Things are gonna be fun. Your Pokemon seem to really like you, so why don't you take the Pokemon Gym Challenge? If you manage to defeat all the gym leaders, you'll eventually challenge the Pokemon League champion. Or not. Becoming the champion is not at all easy, but you can certainly challenge Violet City's gym. Kyle, challenging the gyms scattered around will be a long journey. Before you leave, make sure that you talk to your mom. Which is more than what we did back in Fire Red for memory, at least I don't think you have to go back and talk to your mom. But this does serve more of a purpose than talking to your mom in Gen 1/Fire Red Leaf Green ever did. So you're leaving on an adventure. Okay, I'll help too. But what can I do for you? I know, every time you receive prize money, I'll save some of it for you. On a long journey, money is important. Do you want me to save your money for you? Unique to Johto is your mom serving a mechanical purpose, and it's one worth doing. Okay, I'll take care of your money. Be careful. Pokemon are your friends. When you work as a team, you can accomplish anything. Now go on. And thus our journey begins. Mom will save a quarter of the money you earn from any given trainer battle if you say yes. In the original game, she had another purpose as well because she allowed you to swap between daylight savings and non-daylight savings, but Heart Gold SoulSilver does that automatically. There you are. Kyle, you can catch wild Pokemon with Pokeballs. Follow me. Lyra, did you forget to do the tutorial? Just like that. Uh-huh. Was I too fast? I'll try again. Come this way. And now it's time for our usual catching tutorial. Which they thankfully have started allowing you to skip in the more recent games, but we have to watch through them here. The brass tacks when it comes to catching Pokemon, there's a gigantic equation that goes into it, but biggest notes, every Pokemon species has a catch rate tied to them. The lower it is, the less likely it is to catch. That's usually reserved for a higher evolution Pokemon, or legendaries. Weaker Pokemon are usually higher in catch rate. The lower a Pokemon's HP from their max, the type of Pokeball you're using, and if the Pokemon you're trying to catch has any status ailments afflicted on them, will boost the catch rate in your favor should that be happening. Generally, you're at your best rates to catch Pokemon when they're in red HP with a status ailment and you're using a higher tiered Pokeball. But even then, that's never a guarantee because it's all luck and odds. From personal experience though, Gen 4's catch rate can be a little mean to me in particular, and I don't know why. See? Just like that. It's better to lower your target's HP more than I did, or make it sleep or something. You can try all kinds of things to see what works. I'll give you these. Good luck. And she gives us 5 Pokeballs. Your max team size is 6, but I don't recommend catching the same Pokemon throughout a route over and over again, unless you're looking for specific natures. And now I believe I'm going to jump cut back to Cherrygrove just to save us some time, because it's time for us to head further north into Route 30 beyond to start our adventure proper. But I should note, in that particular battle, Blaze learned Ember, which is their first fire type attack. It's a special move, so 40, so that takes better advantage of their stats. On top of that, it leaves a target with a burn. Burn's an interesting status ailment in Pokemon. I think the move only has a 10% chance of inflicting it, but what burn does is it deals 1/8 of a Pokemon's HP at the end of their turn until that Pokemon faints or has a burn cure used on them. It also reduces their physical attack stat by half while it's afflicted. Hello there. I just lost, so I'm trying to find more Pokemon. Wait, you look weak. Come on, let's battle. Time for our first normal trainer battle. It's not more or less a boss fight. This is youngster Joey. He's gonna throw out a Rattata, and there's a whole meme about it. I'm not gonna go on about it. Let's talk about trainer battles for a sec, though. The way I'm handling them in this LP is the same way I did back in Fire Red. If it's a boss fight or required for story, we're showing at normal speed. If it's required for progress but isn't a boss fight, we're speeding it up. If it's completely optional unless we're going for an item, we are cutting it out, period. The only case we're showing a battle like that is if they have a new Pokemon. Hey, can I get your number? I'll ring you up to battle. This is something that NPCs will ask you to do quite frequently throughout the game. They'll ask for your Pokegear number and they'll call you up randomly throughout the game on like certain time codes and all that. It is worth doing in most cases because they'll give you stuff like pointers towards certain techniques or to find certain Pokemon. Some of them will just give you straight up items or call you for rematches. Even though I don't really do the rematches, in fact, when it comes to getting experience grinding in that regard, this is one of the worst games in the series for doing rematches, barring farming the last fights at the end of the game over and over and over again. But now it's time for our next new Pokemon. This is Pidgey, the original flying-type Pokemon, normal flying in particular, weak to rock, electric, and ice-type attacks, immune to ground and ghost. The Pidgey line's big specialty is speed, and it's not even absurdly fast, but it does have a decent enough moveset thanks to its typing, because normal type can learn a lot of moves from other types. It's not the best of the starting bird-type Pokemon, or bird Pokemon rather, but it's an okay one. I'd say the best one of those came about either in Gen 8's is really good, so was Gen 5's. Gen 4's is also really good. I should note, though, when it comes to my Pokemon opinions, there's only a few Pokemon I outright recommend people never use. If you want to use one, use it, is what I come down to. Pokemon's all about experimentation and finding what you like. But time for a new Pokemon trainer type. This is a bug catcher they prioritize in the bug-type Pokemon. In particular, this one's going to be starting off with a Caterpie. Caterpie's interesting. Pure bug type, so it's weak to flying, rock, and fire. Bug-type Pokemon, especially their baby forms, are all enormously weak usually. Like, this thing's stats are tiny, tiny. Its highest is like a 45, I think. But catching a Caterpie or a Weedle, if you're playing SoulSilver here, can be kind of worth it because bug types specialize usually in evolving very quickly. You'll reach its final form before most Pokemon reach their second form even. If you're playing Heart Gold and catch a Caterpie and evolve it all the way through, you're honestly gonna have a really decent special attack user for the early part of the game that's honestly decently fast. It will get outclassed by endgame, but it's worth it for early game, I suppose. Next new Pokemon, though, is Bellsprout. Grass poison type, so it's weak to flying, fire, psychic, and ice. Decently high attack and special attack for as fragile a Pokemon as it is, because it's not very fast, it's not really got anything in defenses. By the time it reaches its final evolution, you can have a decent attacker out of it. The biggest problem I find is that Bellsprout's learn set, at least just by leveling up, is very focused on inflicting status ailments more than anything, so it just doesn't really have the moves to usually back its stats up. Not to mention, it's the first Pokemon you can encounter in the game that needs a item to reach its final evolutionary stage. But I am catching 2 of them in this round. I'm not showing when I catch the second one, as they're going to be pretty useful for something else that I need something for. Bellsprout, the flower Pokemon. It plants its feet deep underground to replenish water. It can't escape its enemy while it's rooted. With that said, when it comes to nicknaming Pokemon who aren't my starter, I almost always name them after my friends. So let's name the first Pokemon I've caught after one of my oldest friendships. Welcome to the team, Scott. Glad to have you. You're not going to be getting a lot of combat use, but you're going to be pretty important. Dark Cave. If a Pokemon could light it up, I'd explore it. Dark Cave is rather aptly named because you technically need a technique we're not going to get for just a little bit yet to explore it in any real regards, but I do want to come in here to grab an item we can get before that technique, as well as catch a Pokemon. In fact, my main purpose here is to catch said Pokemon. But of course I don't run into it first try. The Pokemon I instead run into on the first try is the one we could run into back on the route north of Route 29. This is Geodude. Very high physical attack and defense that only gets better as it evolves, but its HP, special stats, and speed aren't really much to write home about, and unfortunately, its rock-ground type means it has 6 weaknesses, I think? Fighting, ground, steel, ice, grass, and water. Those last 2 are 4 times weaknesses. I guess the immunity to electricity could make it theoretically worth raising, but that amount of weaknesses makes its decent physical stats just not worth it by the end. With that said, I guess if you're trying to take a physical punch, it might still stand a chance with its endgame defense. The biggest problem is its final form requires trading to evolve, and while emulators especially have gotten better about that in recent years, a lot of the older games it's just not worth using Pokemon that you need to trade to evolve because that third stage's stats are just that much better than the second stage's stats. There is one reason I could have caught one in this LP, but I have another way to get around that. Actually, in just a few minutes. So now let's try to find the Pokemon I'm actually here to find as I try to progress through to the item I want to get here. Here we are. This is a Zubat. We all know these things. We've all run into a bunch of them. Poison flying type, so it is weak against rock, electric, psychic, and ice, but immune to ground. This Pokemon doesn't start off as something very spectacular. Pretty middling stats with everything except for speed, which is okay for a baby form as it is. But when it evolves, it genuinely gets some decent ups, especially to its speed, and in Gen 2 on, they added a second stage evolution that is, frankly, incredible. So, despite it being the scourge of everyone walking through a cave, it's worth catching in my eyes. Zubat's data was added to the Pokedex. Zubat, the bat Pokemon. Capable of flying safely in dark places, it emits ultrasonic cries to check for any obstacles. Admittedly, that can be a nice benefit to catching one of these early on if you really like using status ailments. It learns confusion-causing attacks very early on. Welcome to the team, Kenny. Now, the problem with catching Pokemon this early is you really have to employ a turtling strategy in order to level them up in any substantial means. As, frankly, early game Pokemon give very pitiful experience, and whenever you swap a Pokemon out and defeat the Pokemon that you're facing, they do gain experience if they just participate in the battle for a second. But the experience gets split, so half experience for everyone for a little bit once I actually work on them. Now, whenever it comes to the apricorn trees, I'm gonna grab them when I can, but I'm not sure if they replenish at the next stroke of midnight, or if it's the 24-hour mark from when you last emptied them. Since I so seldom use the apricorns anyway, I genuinely can never remember. Now, this fight's entirely optional, but it has a new Pokemon, so we're showing it off and speeding up. Whenever I speed up a battle, we're going to be playing music of some sort, like this is the FF4 boss theme. I'm going to need to make an entire list of the songs I use for me behind the scenes. Either way, next new Pokemon, this is the one you can catch here in SoulSilver. This is Weedle, bug poison type, so weak to flying, rock, fire, and psychic. Like Caterpie, very low stats. Its highest stat, I think, is its speed, and as it evolves, which, like Caterpie, it evolves rather quickly, it gains some okay physical attack, special defense, and I think speed for the point in the game it evolves at. Compared to Caterpie's final evolution, though, I find Weedle's final evolution doesn't have nearly as much staying power, only because it can't learn... the moves it learns aren't of as rare of types in early game. Plus, I find its physical attack just isn't as necessary in early game. I find a lot of Pokemon in early game at least have lower special defense from memory. I found a good Pokemon in Dark Cave. I'm gonna raise it to take on Falconer. He's the leader of the Violet City's gym. Might be worth keeping that in mind that he got a good Pokemon for Falconer in that particular area. With that, though, we're finally about to reach our first real city of the game. I knew it was you, Kyle. How'd you get past me? Here's something neat for surprising me, Kyle. And we get a Versus Recorder. The Versus Recorder can record your Pokemon battles. I have to go now. I won't let you pass me again. Let's go, Meryl. The Versus Recorder is mostly only useful for multiplayer stuff. It has a purpose in single player, but that's not going to be for a hot minute. With that said, welcome to Violet City. At this point, I did go back and catch that second Bellsprout because I do need it for something. Shard de berry, shard de berry. Yeah, I trade berry for a shard. If you bring me some shards, I'll give you 3 berries, yeah. I'll talk more about what that does later down the road. Just know that you can get specific shards for specific berries if you use a specific technique to break specific rocks. That was about 3 years ago. This group of thugs called Team Rocket was involved in wrongdoing. They were abusing Pokemon, but bad things never last. A boy did a wonderful job and Team Rocket was disbanded. Pokemon are really smart. Traded Pokemon might not listen to you right away. For example, high-level Pokemon sometimes refuse to obey you when you don't have enough gym badges. That's sort of their way of level gating you in Pokemon, so you can't just say, have your friend who's beaten the game trade a high-level Pokemon to you to just go through it. Pokemon high enough of a level will not listen to you, or at least they have a lower chance to. And this guy's a celebrity. This is Primo the Big Brother. Hey, would you, one of my fans, tell me what you think of me? Sure, I don't know you, so to me you just look like a depressed old man. Because you have no more soul. Oh my, is that how you feel about me? I never thought of it that way before. By the way, how do you like the way I'm exciting and fun? Bye for now. Truly? That gives me all new energy so I can work even harder. Great feedback, it'll help me a lot. Thank you for your continued support. A guy named Bill made the Pokemon PC storage system. You can access the Pokemon storage system using the PC at the reception there. Why don't you try it once? So, it's pretty much what they say on the tin. Build someone's PC here, you can store Pokemon, withdraw Pokemon. This is essentially how you edit your team on and off. For instance, I can store the second Bellsprout I got, but I don't want to do that yet because I need that Bellsprout for something almost immediately outside of this Pokemon Center. Get used to the PC storage system though, because you're going to be using that a lot. There have been reports of Ghost-type Pokemon appearing in Sprout Tower. They say normal-type Pokemon moves have no effect on them. If I recall, vice versa. Ghost-type doesn't work on normal, so at least there's that. Now, what we want to do is come into this house. I collect Pokemon. Do you have Bellsprout? Want to trade it for my Onix? Sure. This is why I caught a second Bellsprout, because I want to get this Onix from this kid. Rudy sent over Rocky. There are certain NPCs you can trade with throughout the game by finding specific Pokemon. Some of the trades just aren't worth it, but you do get items from them usually. But we got Rocky, who is an Onix. I forget what he's holding at the top of my head, a person berry, so you can get berries by usually trading Pokemon. Onix is a rock ground type that has really high physical defense and decently high speed, but the rest of their stats just aren't really worth it. Plus, being rock ground type, they're weak to fighting, ground, steel, water, grass, and ice, so they have a lot of weaknesses. The main reason I'm getting Rocky is to use certain abilities on them for traversal, essentially, because they're going to be super useful for me for that. And this is the trainer school. This has been, I think, in every Pokemon game. At least it has since Gen 2. I forget if it was in Gen 1. This is for you to learn very minor details, like what each status effect does. I think they gave you tips on type advantages here and there. Frankly, I've always been kind of surprised that Pokemon games after Fire Red Leaf Green didn't also just have that L and R system to bring up the type advantage guide, at the least, just to help people have memories with that. But at the same time, at least later games started to also mark when a move wouldn't be super effective, or if it would only be normally effective against Pokemon in battle, if you knew what type they were from either prior experience of catching one or facing one beforehand. Now, over there's the gym, but I want to come over here and accidentally find this Pokeball when trying to talk to this small child. Did you know that the Pokegear allows you to put marks and memos on its map? I'd love to have one of those Pokegears, but my mom won't let me. I will never use those. With that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 3, we're going to be entering the Sprout Tower to take care of some things before we go out to the gym. Also notably, I'm going to be doing some level grinding between parts. I want to say I get everyone roughly to at least level 12 just to catch up with Blaze. But with that, see you guys then.